By choosing to render direct illumination, we're calling on the scan line to give us these sunspots on the floor. And it does a good job with that, because that's what the scan line does. It renders light that directly hits surfaces. In fact, that's all the scan line does. The ray tracer is called on to represent surfaces like the skylights that are highly reflective or refractive. Radiosity is picking up on the indirect illumination, and that's why this rendering looks so much more realistic than the initial scanline rendering that we made. Radiosity is calculating the indirect light. That is, light that doesn't directly hit a surface. Rather, it's the light that bounces off of surfaces and continues to bounce around the interior. Sometimes this is referred to as global illumination, or ambient light, or color bleeding. All of these terms refer to the same phenomenon. When the light comes in through the skylight and hits the floor, it picks up some of the color of the floor. And then the light goes ahead and hits the interior side of the roof up here, and it colors that white material of the roof. It then continues on its journey, reflecting and lighting each surface. That's why materials are so important in a radiosity rendering. Now, I suspect for most of your projects, rendering the direct illumination will be enough. You won't have to go beyond that. However, in this sample project, we have some problems, and they're concentrated up here on this curved surface. We're getting what we call artifacts on this surface because of the nature of these long, thin triangles that are up there. We're trying to mitigate the problems with the artifacts by using indirect light filtering. I've set that to a relatively high value of 3 to eliminate the initial problems that we saw with the solution. Let me set this back to 0 and let it recalculate for a second, and then we'll see the problems that are actually stored in the radiosity mesh. These so-called problems occur because the mesh isn't perfectly dense. These shading anomalies occur because of the topology of the mesh. It would be prohibitive to calculate a super dense radiosity mesh. So there's a solution that's been developed to eliminate all manner of radiosity artifact, and it's called regathering. If you choose to use regathering, you don't need to use light filtering, and your initial quality can actually be set at just 1%. I'll scroll down and open rendering parameters and check regather indirect illumination. Now this is a completely alternative system that is used to calculate the rendering. And it works with rays. It has a number of rays per sample and a filter radius. The filter radius blends the rays together, and it works a lot like light filtering does. Let's just leave it with the default settings and make a rendering. We're going to get a very different result, and we'll need to tweak the values in order to make an acceptable rendering. We're seeing splotchiness and little white dots everywhere. These are the rays that are being cast out to sample the lighting information from the radiosity mesh. I'm going to cancel this. We need to make some adjustments here to make this look good. If we use adaptive sampling, it might be faster. Let's try it. This works a little like adaptive subdivision. It chooses to sample some areas more than others. It ends up being very splotchy. I'll cancel that. The key here is to increase the filter radius. I'll boost that to 5 and render again. This should eliminate some of the splotchiness. You see, it's just a bit more blurry. Those artifacts are blurring as they are blended together. You can increase the number of rays per sample to get a higher quality sampling and thus result. However, that increases render time. The quality level is similar according to how much has rendered at this point. So we still have to increase the filter radius, perhaps dramatically, to create a smooth render. I'll try it at a value of 10 now and render again. Ultimately, we will be able to blend away the radiosity artifacts that we are seeing to create smooth, continuous tone. So regathering can yield the highest quality results, but it does take some test renders to find the settings that work for your particular image. Still, I have to say that it's blotchy. I need to boost that up even higher. Let's try it at 20. So as you can see, it's an iterative process of testing, adjusting, and testing again until you get the settings the way that you like them. So this rendering took 2 minutes and 14 seconds, and that was in addition to the radiosity solution, which took 4 minutes and 51 seconds. So you can see there's quite a bit of processing and testing required with radiosity, but the results can be very beautiful. You can also create exterior renderings with radiosity. I'll turn off regathering and go into perspective mode, and I'll go into wireframe and just orbit around here into a view that I might want to make of this building from outside. So it's far too bright right now. I need to go into the Environment and Effects dialog and check Exterior Daylight. This is very important for an exterior. Then click Render Preview, and you'll get a thumbnail version of the scene. So the render preview shows the background. I think I'll turn off the sky map and just adjust the brightness and contrast to get the image looking better. I think I'll set the contrast at 75 because outside the illumination should be a little bit more contrasty. I'll go ahead and make a rendering, and this time it should calculate relatively quickly because we're not using regathering. So that looks pretty good. But we could have achieved similar results in far less time using the light tracer, which I recommend for exteriors. Radiosity is best used in interiors where the light has a chance to bounce around and influence the character of the scene.